Hey guys, Jen with Astrology. So today we are talking about the full moon that is in Gemini. Now this is all about contradictions, misinformation, relationship issues, and just trying to really see the big picture. So I'm guardingly looking forward to this full moon because it will be really conjunct to my natal Saturn in my sixth house, sextile my Lord of the Year, which is Venus, and that is in the eighth house. So, will my husband's, hard work finally pay off? And, or will it be, a negative aspect and be sabotaging? So it'll be interesting to see how it works out. I'm always hoping for positive, but, so anyway, a full moon in Gemini can be just really enlightening. It's about knowledge. It's about gaining knowledge and finding out all you can. And you can see why this falls during the holiday season, because it's also a very social sign. So this is a time for socializing, schmoozing, exchanging ideas, plans, prospects for the future. That is very Gemini, and this time of year you're getting together with people, holiday parties at work. So this is really the time that you bounce ideas off each other. So really a Gemini, kind of feel, good time for, of course, the Gemini full moon. So we are really just encouraged to let go of biases with this and prejudices, because we want to be able to communicate and listen, and just find common ground, a common goal, and to see the bigger picture. Again, we want to see the big picture and not just stay in our little, our little one-way looking zone. We want to see all of it. We want to take it all in, learn all you can, get all the knowledge so that you are informed. So this is, though, no ordinary full moon, of course, because of all the aspects around it. So again, 2024 is going to go out with a bang, just like it's been all year. 2025 is still going to be very intense, but because of all these aspects, this full moon isn't just going to be about schmoozing and sharing ideas. There's a lot more that's going to be going on. And it may actually hinder, all the aspects may hinder our ability to have that open mind. It may keep that mind closed. It may keep that open line of communication closed. Because about this mid-month, the full moon falling 2 days after Friday the 13th, it may be tumultuous. So expect to, the shit really is going to hit the fan, I think, because a lot is going to be exposed at this time. We're already seeing things, people doing some digging, finding things out, so, and this is all just, things coming out into the open. This is Gemini. They want to find out the truth. So you see just with what's going on in government with, people finding out about things, about the people that are being nominated for different areas of the cabinet, and just really everyone just doing digging and finding things out and finding the truth out. As the moon waxes, so the moon would be down here in Gemini. It's not conjunct Jupiter, but it's in the same sign, of course, because it's opposite to Sagittarius, or the sun in Sagittarius, so that is what makes the full moon, it's the opposition. So we can see things already starting to come out. Lies, corruption being exposed. I feel like, this is just the beginning. So this, even though it is the peak, what we're finding out, because it is early, a couple weeks before the actual full moon takes place, but when everything's at its peak, and then what we do with that information afterward, with the moon starts waning back down. Mercury and Mars retrograde, things are being brought up from the past. This is, actions and things that you did and things that you might have said, or, just finding out shocking revelations that, okay, so, finding those things out isn't going to be a very big surprise. The things that we find out might be a surprise, but if we don't hear anything, that would be more of a surprise, because this is about finding out what's going on behind the scenes. Most recently, funny thing was that pardon of Hunter Biden by his father, the president, after over and over and over again saying for the past few months that he would not give him this pardon. And it's nobody's above the law, so they say. But when we have Mercury going retrograde, rethinking that decision, perhaps going back on what was said, what was communicated to us as a nation, and that is that Mercury retrograde, like re-communicating with a different, a whole different outlook. And then he said, and he issued that pardon. And this pardon is very broad. It was for a whole 10-year period, pretty much going back to 2014, for his son and himself. A broad pardon that, okay, this is going to encompass anything that might come up within this time. So that is so, with this full moon and more things that will surprisingly, probably not surprisingly actually, come out regarding this, but he's already got the pardon for it, so what can be done about it? Pretty much nothing. But doesn't mean it's still, we won't have these shocks and revelations like, oh my God, this was actually going on. So I think that even though he was pardoned, I think that there's still a lot to the story here, and because of that broad pardon, I think that just kind of like almost just set the stage for everything to come out. So let's break down this full moon anyway in general. So why might it be so volatile? What are the different aspects going around? Well, the first thing that stands out is the full moon is in a T-square with Neptune. So we see the full moon here, and then it's in a T-square with Neptune, boop, right here. So we see how we have the opposition, and then a square here, and then a square here. So that is a T-square. And T-squares aren't always so fun. They can be very uncomfortable. And so with the Sun square Neptune and Mars square Neptune, and of course with them opposing each other, hence the full moon. So the larger planets being involved is really putting everything on a larger scale. So, again, with that Neptune square, like, we're going to be unsure, we're going to be confused maybe, and, it's going to, kind of be that smoke and mirrors, like, trying to tell me something about, wait, and it's just wrestling with what's true, what's not true, what's reality, what's imaginary. Also, I think a lot with dreams are going to be very big. So if you are dreaming, keep a dream journal, start writing that down. I've already been having a lot as the sun is moving into that square with Neptune. So my dreams have been very vivid, a lot about work type things and stuff like that. So that's like that ego, that drive, that, being square to that, what's my subconscious trying to tell me? So really pay attention to your dreams at this time. Neptune's playing a big role, and the outer planets put things on a grander scale. So it's not just us, it's the collective, it's the world pretty much that's all going through this right now. Where the personal planets, Mercury, communications, ideas, Venus, our relationships, and Mars, our actions, those are our personal planets. And those also being involved, it makes it it's fucking with us on a personal level as well. So it's like collectively, personally, we got things going on the outside. Then, so with the full sun and the moon, it's where we shine, how and where we shine, and what our mood and how our mood's going to be affected by all this. So how is our mood going to be affected by this square to Neptune? And how is all this going to just kind of come together? Also involved are the social planets. Now the social planets is how you interact kind of with other people, with bosses, with peers, with your elders, perhaps. So the social planets are Jupiter and Saturn. Of course, this, with them being involved, it's kind of affecting our interactions with others. So, and it's just every planet's involved in this one. It's like nobody's being left out. Everyone wants to be in on the party. All of it's at play. So we have the big picture and that is the outer planets, really giving us the whole world dynamic, with all of them about to change signs within a year. And then we have these social planets and our interactions with each other all being affected by this. And then, of course, those personal planets. So how is this going to affect us on a personal level? Okay, so it might not be, this big, but it could be in our personal relationships. So the T-square with Neptune has us really, it's wrestling with that excitement. We know that there's a change at hand. Maybe we thought it was going to be one way, and then with what's happened in government, we're afraid. So we have that excitement, but then we have that fear of the future. Like, what does this mean? What is this change going to be? Looking again at the big picture. And from when you're listening to the news outlets, you listen to all different news programs, they have differing opinions, and they're all polar opposites. And it's either very, very good, oh, Trump's going to save the world, or it's very, very bad, or we're all going to prison. It's just there's no in between, and that's where we got to kind of get ourselves. And that's why we need to have that open mind. So we need to use that Neptune to help to have us open our minds, even though that T-square is kind of shutting it down. So it's putting up that barrier so that, and of course Saturn being right in there, and then, Jupiter being right in there, those barriers are big, and those thoughts are big. And so we put up these barriers ourselves that makes us so we're not able to open our minds and hear each other and have those big conversations and hear those differing opinions. Anxiety at this time can be at its peak, with overwhelming feelings of stress. This could be globally, or it can be personally. So like on a global scale, like again, because of all this news and people putting the fear of God into you, so you're scared. What's going to happen to the world? So you have that anxiety, but you also have that personal anxiety, which is, am I going to have my holiday shopping done? How am I going to fit everybody in? How am I going to do this? What day are we going to do this? And, we had a huge snowstorm here, so there's more anxiety because, there's just so much right now that it's affecting us on a big scale and a small scale. So, you have to keep that take it into consideration, and just, especially with Mercury, being retrograde during the season, it always wants to throw a little wrench into those online shopping and that type of thing. So, you want to just prepare, use that Gemini full moon to really be organized, to really, have all your facts straight, to really just make that plan. Then with the T-square, it also can cloud our judgment. Neptune, again, encourages us to open our minds, but these days, many of us will be shutting down and withdrawing. And you've already, I see that on, TikToks and stuff where people are saying, oh, if, this family member, they voted this way, so I'm just going to opt out. So people are actually pulling away from holiday gatherings, not having that socializing that can actually boost you and open your mind up, but they're shutting down and they're staying away from their family, their friends, their relatives, because maybe the vote didn't go the way they wanted, or who knows what. And they're just shutting down, and you have to just try and refrain from doing that, because that is really where your mind gets unhealthy. Because if your mind shuts down and you're not able to see the bigger picture, then you're going to lose a lot of people that you care about, and it's just a shame over just something like an election can't make you lose, people that you care about. There's so much more to life than just that. Our social planets now, Jupiter and Saturn, are square to each other. So here's where they come in. And again, so we have Jupiter and Saturn here. You see how they're in a square. So that is where that tension comes in, that inflexibility. It can cause Jupiter that's just trying to break free and trying to push out the walls, but Saturn is really just holding it in, and it's like, no, we're not going to expand our minds. We're just going to, be like this. And we're that stern person. It's like, well, these are the morals I grew up with, and this is how I'm sticking to my guns, and, not just seeing that bigger picture again. And it's going to create a lot of tension between how you, socialize with people, and it can tension with your bosses and, things, elders and things like that, where you're going to have that tension, you're going to have those fights because you're not able to be open-minded. Gemini, the full moon is mutability. Gemini is all about mutability, seeking knowledge to provide growth, and but that growth, because of that Saturn-Jupiter square, is temporarily hindered, and this can again affect how we interact with each other, because we're not growing, we're at a standstill. We have retrograding Mercury and Mars. Mars is going to be retrograde, and it is just not moving forward, it's moving backwards, and so there's no forward momentum going on there. It's really just about kind of being hindered and being held back, and just kind of having blocks put up. And these blocks a lot of times are put up by ourselves, in our own minds. And remember though, even though all this is going on, it is a time for preparation. The Mars and Mercury retrograde, it's hard to move forward, but even through the frustration, even feeling like giving up, because that Mars doesn't have that energy that it had before. It's kind of waning back, and it's just kind of sitting back, not moving forward, and that's how we're going to feel. But we want to take this opportunity again to really utilize that full moon and gain as much knowledge in that retrograding Mercury, to really just go back and rethink things and redo things. We also have that Mars in opposition with Pluto. So we see the opposition here, and now Venus is in there. So Venus wants to be involved. Venus in Aquarius getting into the mix. It's, within that 5-degree kind of opposition. We have, it's not quite a yod, because we do have the two of them kind of pointing this way. A yod would be if they were sextile, but it's still, the two planets kind of directly aiming at that, and it is separating. So the conjunction is both really opposing, pointing towards Mars. So here's where we can really feel the full moon on a personal level, because we have Venus involved, we have Mars involved, and of course then Pluto, which is about that inner transformation, that how we're going to grow from this, how we're going to rise out of the ashes on a personal level. So the full moon, again, is your ego, your mood, it's seesawing, and then that communication that would normally flow smoothly with the Gemini full moon is met with contradiction. And misunderstandings. So, of course, that Mercury retrograde is bringing up misunderstandings. Did I hear that correctly? What did he say? You have a lot of that going on. So with Pluto and Venus in this opposition with Mars, we can have a lot of disagreements. This is, again, with superiors, bosses, those in charge, power struggles, fight for leadership, and fight to be in charge. So, you might be having those power struggles in your workplace. You can also have that in your everyday relationships, because that Mars and Venus opposition. We can also, see those in charge kind of falling out of sight a little bit. Mars is in Leo, but it is retrograde. So it's waning from the spotlight. So it's not really wanting to step up. So that could be some of the setbacks that you have, say, with people in charge. Say you have a manager that's just not maybe showing up, maybe not really involved, maybe kind of, sitting on the wayside while you guys feel like you're doing all the work, or a boss that's like that. So I think that a lot of that, we're going to be angry because, I'm doing all the work here, and the superior, so you feel like I should be bumped up and I should, have this title or something like that. So it is that vying for appreciation. It's that vying for the spotlight, because some in the spotlight are falling back. And it's funny because it's another thing that we're seeing on a larger scale in the government, because it's really hard to tell who's president right now when you think about it, because we have a president that we know from everything that has come out that he's cognitively impaired. And then we have a vice president that ran off on vacation to, I guess, get over losing, and then she has a recent video where it seems like she might be a little impaired, if you know what I'm saying. So who's running the government? Who's running it while she's on vacation and he's having, mental difficulties? So that's, again, they're kind of both waning out of the spotlight. That's the people in charge kind of not really in charge. So who's actually in charge? Who's stepping in? Think what you want. I'd like to hear what you guys think in the comments, so please comment and let me know what you guys think. In our personal relationships, we're going to have disagreements, and when we're going to, with Pluto close by, there's again those misunderstandings. But how are you going to take that relationship and rise out of the ashes with it? These fights, they're going to cause, with Pluto in there, Pluto, it's very suspicious, it's very jealous, it's distrustful, and it could be like, who are you talking to? And then, those misunderstandings. Well, I thought you were going to be here. Well, I told you this. So don't be surprised if these things pop up. But again, don't forget, this too shall pass. But with the Mars retrograde and in that cycle, it's really going to be hammered in there for a while. So this might be lasting a while. Once Venus kind of moves away, it's not going to be as bad. But, again, you see it on a national scale, where you see, like, Venus, judicial system, and that could be, weighing, like, that's the scales of justice. So we're seeing on a global scale of using the judicial system in retaliation to, leaders' enemies, or newly elected leaders' enemies, or current leaders' enemies. And a talking point on the news of this as of late is like, that the news is thinking, if I went against Trump, he's going to throw me in prison. He's going to throw this one in prison. But, then we see that broad pardon come out. So, it's interesting. Interesting how it's going to all play out anyway, I think, because I know we're going to hear a lot more things come out about all that, but there's not going to be too much we can do about it. But this type of thing, this newly exposed or newly gained information, once it's re-examined, if you are clean, personally, you should be fine, But if you've been shady, this could really come back and haunt you. Could ruin your personal or professional reputations. So this could be on a personal scale, could be on a grander scale. So, that's why you always want to keep good karma, because if you gossip or lie, it's going to get exposed. And I don't, because when you lie, you're covering up for a lie, and then this one's covering up for a lie, and then it just starts to build, and then after a while, it's all going to come out in the end. Likely you'll get exposed, and then there, your reputation's ruined. And I think we're going to see that on a grander scale as well, coming out with all these different prosecutors and people that are up, in all these judicial things, because we have that Pluto with Venus, and that's a lot of the judicial, how you're going to rise out, what's going to happen in the end. So again, y'all keep good karma. Don't. Lying is just bad. It's not ever going to benefit you. It's just going to hurt you in the end. But remember, so this might be tough. We're going to have a lot of craziness going on in the world right now. It's not stopping anytime soon. We have a lot more to come. But on a lighter note, we have Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, in mutual reception with Jupiter, that is in, it's in Sagittarius, it's a mutual reception with Jupiter that's in Gemini. So they're in each other's signs, mutual reception, and it's going to be trine to Mars. So maybe some of the things that are going to be coming out are going to be good things. We have that good trine that maybe will bring some good news. Mercury stationing direct on the day of the full moon will be also sextile to Venus. So maybe we'll have some good news. Maybe some financial good news might be coming out. So, or maybe, good things with any kind of like judicial or judgments or things like that. So if you do have anything pending, maybe it's going to come out favorable to you and not negative, because there is some positives with the negatives, of course. So you also have to remember that all the outer planets, all the ones that are causing all this craziness next year, as they're all changing signs, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto going into their new signs by the end of 2025, they are all forming trines or sextiles. So we have Pluto and Uranus forming a trine, and then here, and then we have the sextiles with Pluto with Neptune, and then Uranus with Neptune. So those are all good. So yeah, it might be really difficult as we're getting there, because those last degrees, they're those panic degrees, they're those, ramping things up because we have to get things done. But the future as a whole, I think, was just going to be extraordinary. And I would say extraordinary, but I'm going to say more extraordinary. So it's going to be a little extra and not ordinary, honestly. So try your best to see the big picture, gather your information, and make your plans. Now is the time to sit back. Try and keep that open mind, and because this all will affect us differently, and how this is hitting our own personal planets. Definitely pull your charts up so you can see how this is going to affect you. But again, you want to try and keep that open mind, even though that Saturn is just trying to shut it down. It's trying to nope. Again, when you're dreaming, you're letting things in because you are in your subconscious phase. So write down your dreams, see what they're trying to tell you, because it doesn't have all the other stuff going on. It's just that subconscious, information that's being given to you. So then you can maybe see things a little bit better, and maybe with a better and a more open mind. So again, we also want to take this time to really use that inner Gemini and talk to each other. Work together. Don't work apart. And if you do have, people that are in authority that are just kind of giving up, now is when all us little people, the collective, us smaller people, want to get together and make things work. If government's giving up on us, then what are we going to do to make it work? Gather people that aren't maybe way up on top. Gather your co-workers and work together. Communication is key, and work and in love, teamwork makes the dream work. Again, if you're having trouble in your relationships, try and keep that balance. We have the opposition going, but you want to with Venus and Mars, but you want to try to keep balance, keep that teeter-totter from teetering, and you want to use that teamwork, work together. And that is what's going to make this world a better place, if we just open our minds, work together, and see the other side. So be sure to subscribe, and let's get through this together. Hit the notification bell. We got a lot more videos coming up, more on the Jupiter-Saturn cycle that started back in 2020. We have a video coming up on that, and of course everything is going to be going on in the new year. So let's go through this together. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.